Joe, what's kind of the biggest challenge for you on a short week?
Yeah, there's a process we go through every week, and it takes a certain amount of time. So compressing that process into, half the time is always a challenge. Helps when you've played the team before relatively recently, but you still want to get through all the tape and make sure you're seeing everything. So it's just a race. You don't have as much time to digest the last game and making sure you're preparing for, all the different looks that have come up maybe since the last game. So it's just a time crunch, and always a little bit more stress, worried that you might miss something. So that's the biggest one.
Coach, you rotate players a lot at certain positions on offense, but not typically on the offensive line. When you have a game like that where you're rotating two guys at one position, how unique of a challenge is that?
Yeah, I think, it helps that even though he's been out for a while, Ben, is used to working with those guys, so that helps. Palcho's been in there for a good stretch, so, that mitigates it a little bit. But, just trying to get Ben back in the flow and knock some of the rust off, and important that he gets some reps. And, thought he did pretty well, and Palcho continues to play well. So, I think it's a challenge, but not as big a one because of the experience that those guys all have working together.
It's a short week, but Sean said that everyone in the building kind of understands kind of what's at stake over the next two games. Just what have you seen from the guys early this week about the focus?
Yeah, I think they're locked in. I think I could say that every week. It's a mature group. It's they're all professionals, but it's a little bit easier to get their attention when you've got so much on the line like we do. And, it's a privilege to be playing meaningful December football, and I think they appreciate that. So it was a good day.
Joe, you spoke a couple weeks ago about you like the way that Garrett took on the coaching of Zach Strief and Chris Morgan when he's already had a lot of coaches in his career. Just to see him get his first Pro Bowl at 33 in his 9th season, what was just sort of your reaction?
Yeah, real happy for him. He works hard. He's been through a lot, and so. To see all that hard work get rewarded with that kind of recognition, it's gratifying for everybody, and real happy for him. He's, one of those guys that's been here, one of the lifelong Broncos, and he's been through some rough times, and it's fun to see him and Cortland, be part of what we're building here, and so, yeah, I was very, very happy for him.
Can you play for one more?
How unique a player is he athletically, Garrett?
Yeah, I think he's very unique. Even early on, Zach and the O-line guys were kind of marveling at just, God doesn't make many people built like him that can move like him and handle power like he does. So just a very, very gifted individual who works hard, and usually you combine those two things and good things happen.
As the season goes on, Coach, what are the difficulties when opponents get more film on your defense? The last couple of Decembers, there's been some hiccups defensively that we don't see earlier in the year.
Yeah. I mean, it's tough. I mean, they've got a season worth of film, and you got to play your best. And I'm not sure it's really about scheme. It's about just playing your best ball and fundamentally tackling and making plays on the ball and doing what you do. But it's always tough this part of the year because everyone's playing their best ball, so to speak, and it's a bunch of film out there. So the things that have hurt you, you've got to put them to sleep.
What about the narrative that your defense is fading a little bit as, going on here through the season?
Is that you, Mike, or me? You mean narrative?
The narrative?
Listen, guys, all we do each week is win or lose, we go back and correct and move on, right? So last week was our first loss in a very long time. We didn't play great in the red zone. That was the biggest issue we had in tackling. So we'll fix that and move on. I mean, that's what we do. And, if it's a win or it's a loss, we correct. And that's the first loss in a long time, so we have to go correct and play better.
Maybe similar. But when you have things, you've been really good tackling, you've been really good in the red zone. Mm-hmm. So when both of those things fail you, is there added concern, or is it's just about?
It's not. I thought they made some plays, and that's the National Football League, right? They made more plays than we did. They broke some tackles. They made some plays on the ball that we didn't make. So that's the bottom line, and that's going to happen in this league. And you have to correct and move on. It's very simple for us.
As you mentioned, you've been up there working. In your experience, what is the most difficult part of game planning or preparing on a short week?
Well, It's a problem because obviously, it's a short week and we hadn't played these guys in a couple of weeks, I guess, So just having a good game plan, not having so much where the players can't play fast, but enough to win the game. So it's a fine line between, having a huge game plan versus letting guys play fast. It depends on who you're playing, obviously. This week we're focused on ourselves, playing better in the red zone, obviously. The tackling part we can't fix until Thursday night. We'll fix that and we'll move forward.
Coach, when you're going up against a quarterback that doesn't have a lot of tape out there, how much of a challenge is that for you to prepare for that guy?
I think it's some of a challenge, but we've watched this kid play a little bit. He faced us last year in Week 18, so we've seen him play. He's athletic; he can move around. So you just kind of draw off those experiences and have your plan fit to the quarterback.
That's happy to see 3 of your guys make the Pro Bowl. I think some might have gotten snubbed, and then on the other side of the ball, see Garrett Bowles make his first Pro Bowl with him as a rookie.
That's cool. It's cool in all phases. Obviously, offense, defense, special teams. It just speaks to George and Coach. How we've drafted here, and obviously Cortland and Garrett. They were my draft picks. So it's fun to watch those guys have success.
I think a couple of years ago we talked about all the turnovers you got on defense. This year hasn't been a big takeaway year.
Right.
What is it? Luck? Is it? What is that?
I don't think it's luck, Mike. I mean, we have to take the ball away. That's one thing we haven't done this year. We've got a ton of sacks, and it's rare you have that many sacks with no forced fumbles. So we've got to focus on those things, and that's part of the process of after every game you have to go back and look at what you didn't do well. That's been a problem all year. So we've got to fix that. We've got time to fix that.
Vance, you talk a lot about attacking the elbow on the quarterback. Are you doing that enough?
In games?
In games.
We are not in games. We teach that from day one. We don't hit quarterbacks on the body because it's obviously penalties and it costs players money. We don't want that. So our focus when it's pass rushers to attack the elbow, they give you the sack, right, and the quarterback hit and the ball. So that's our focus, and that hadn't gotten done this year, guys. That has to get better.
With PJ, how did you think he played this weekend, and just the sort of the, I don't know if it's a luxury, but just the benefit of having a guy that has that much experience?
I thought he played well. He played well. He tackled well. He played fairly clean. He had one play in the red zone where it was a bang play for a touchdown, but he played good football.
Chris, were you surprised at all that Mims or Crawshaw, especially when you saw where his votes were, did end up in the Pro Bowl?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, listen, I think, and then Devin Key, I think that was probably the biggest surprise. Marv and I were just talking about it. I think Marv probably had a little bit of more competition. There's been a number of guys in the AFC that are having really good years. And listen, you guys have been doing this long enough. You know how the Pro Bowl voting can go. But listen, I think, we all know how we feel about those guys in the building here, and Devin Key's a Pro Bowler in this building. So, but no, listen, we just want to keep those guys in a positive state of mind. They're all producing for us, and that we hope moving forward. But it's always nice to get some recognition, and again, taking nothing away from the people that won, but we feel strongly about those guys. So.
As you get to these final two here, knowing what's at stake, how much do you stress to your guys just single play on teams could flip it one way or another for you guys?
Yeah, that's really been the theme. We actually, try to highlight other plays, not just our plays, but plays from around the league, and even some of the college games. A bunch of the guys were talking about the big plays in the playoff games in college from special teams, and so yeah. I mean, listen, at this time of year, one play, we know how the field position can flip and just completely change the games. We've seen it. Great examples from our games. And so, yeah, it gets critical, especially when you start getting down here end of the year. There's weather, there's new guys playing because of injuries, and everybody's dealing with it. But it's that one-play mentality, and we try to have our guys take the field like this play is going to change the game. That's the mentality we're having, in everything. And we were, talking about it in our meeting the other day. That used to not be the case with the old kickoff rule. It was like, okay, we can kick a touchback here. Hey, they're going to kick a touchback, but now. I was looking at the stats this morning. If I'm not mistaken, there's been over 1,200 plays added this season because of the new kickoff rule through 16 weeks, which is incredible. And we're going to probably be over 1,500, once we get to the next couple of weeks. So, we've all seen how the kickoff and kick return rule can completely change a field position, either starting in the beginning of the game or the second half. And so, yeah, no doubt that one-play mentality. That 1/11th, and man, this play is going to change a game. That's kind of our mindset for sure.
Darren, Sean just mentioned part of the reason that they had Q up, even though they had 4 other outside linebackers, is his ability on special teams, did a lot at Alabama. What's just been your impression of what he's brought to your units?
Yeah, I mean, going back to his Alabama, that's what jumped out on film back, in the process of the draft. Listen, he's a guy that can really not much he can't do. For a big body, he runs really well. He's probably an underrated blocker in the return game. It's something that doesn't get a lot of notoriety, except for maybe for the coaching staff. He actually blocks really well in punt return and kick return. He was a really good cover player in college, and he's doing all those same things. So when those conversations come up about the 47th, 48th guy to the game every week, we have to make those final decisions. That their special teams value, and I really respect the heck out of Sean for every week. We talk about that, and so to get that backing from the head coach is a big deal. And I knew that obviously coming in here because I worked for Sean before. So, but our philosophy there on those last couple of guys that are going to be active, a lot of it has to do with matchups. I go back to the kickoff rule, right? So matchups. It's almost like hockey shifts or basketball, where like you're looking at their personnel and saying they're subbing and we're going to put these guys in. So a lot of times body types have come into play in the return game. But no, Q's been great. What we saw in the college film is what we're seeing out here, and I'm really happy to see what he's doing on defense too, because the times he's been up, it seems like he makes a 1 or 2 plays on defense every time he's up too, and a lot of times it's kind of he's coming up for that dual role. So it's good to see him doing well in both.
Coach,
Time for one more.
Yeah.
when Will has a rare miss like he did early in the game, did you address that at all during the game, after the game, or he just knows what happened?
Yeah. So listen, I've known Will a long time, right? So I usually let some time go by, and then we kind of go back. And first thing I always make sure it's not something with the operation or something wasn't off time. On that particular kick, I saw the replay, and really he just he hit what we call a straight ball right down the hash. So he literally hit, the ball went up. There was really no movement on it. It's just the way it came out. I mean, unfortunately, if we were maybe a yard or 2 further back, it might have snuck in. Just one of those rare things. So, no. Now, if he hit a weird ball or if our operation was messed up or something like that, we kind of addressed that right away. But like you said, a rare miss. He hit up a clean ball. And so we just kind of, move on, next one. And I just try to, after a while, after he kind of decompresses, I try to, especially if it's early like that, try to remind him that, hey, we're going to need you here. And you see him come back, hit the 54-yarder is a big deal, because as we all know, you miss one of those ones early, you got to kind of flush it and move on, to the next one. And we all know there's going to be more opportunities. So he does a great job at that. He's got a great approach.